All right, here we go again. Over there to see what's going on here. Yeah, they're all like multi-millionaires. Everybody's just like, yeah. Because they look cool, but they're just rich people, just like everybody else. That's who you see in the inner workings of the party, all the rich people in all the parties. EBT card. They're saying 32,000 constituents. I don't know what the percentage is of undocumented immigrants, but they're making it sound like mom and pop cattle, which will happen, but right. There's some people that will lose benefits. Yeah, I don't leave polls. Well, actually, what actually helped the Republican Party is the riots and all that, and the attitudes. Right. Well, there's just no guarantee that when you come to the United States that you're going to actually get to stay here if you're just walking in. Right. They act like there's a guarantee. Well, Biden wasn't doing what he's supposed to do. Right. There's tons of removal orders that were unfulfilled. I don't think I'd be hanging out in that room. Got one of those snake poles. Was he get bit or something? I don't know if that's real. There's some guy, I know he's got anti-venom and all that, but there's a guy on the internet that messes around with snakes all the time, but they have anti-venom and all that. You see him gathering it every so often, but he doesn't say anything about it. Right. I'm sure he gets a lot. I'm sure he's very rich for his country. Right. With his videos, a lot of people watch him. Right. See, they go too far. So again, that's how Satan plays the planet. Extreme right, extreme left, extreme this, extreme that. Right. Well, he could have still been tortured. I mean, obviously, that might be a moment where he wasn't. I don't know if he was or wasn't. But again, it's not selling the way you think it's selling. Right. It's just like I'm not being tortured, right? Because I have a television, the internet. All right. Thanks, Larry. But you have to actually start working the other side and You're going to have to bring some people into work. It's just the way it is, which, is probably the right way to do it if you wanted to kickstart the system. Right. Well, if they see you taking people from foreign countries and bringing them here to work on farms, then they have to go back to that nation of origin to get in here, to get the job. Right. Yeah, it looks like China's going to invest. Which, again, if we want a quick way out of it, and maybe the easiest way out of it, well, if China goes over there, they might, sign. They may tell Iran sign on the dotted line, and they may, okay, we want to move into your country as, Alibaba. And we want peace so we can, sell our goods. Right. So again, they might control Iran. I mean, it's not what, people in the West would want, but again, if they maintain that order, that's really what we want. Right. Thank you, Larry. And Shabbat's this evening. Well, the bottom line is, if they pick up the other side and start, filling those positions when it gets to that point that they need to, with people immigrating to the United States lawfully in regular immigration, then they did what they're supposed to do. Right. Well, it cuts the cartel. It cuts the cartel out, the middleman, right, middlewoman. Right. Because this system empowers the cartel, where people come here and they work illegally. Right. You get rid of that system, and it's only legal immigration, and the cartel is written off as far as that part of it. Right. And you bring it up. If you bring it up all ISIS stuff, it's just, it's just not going to work. You're actually ruining it with that, because we got to see what's going on right now. Like, the old footage fails. Right. Iran's got a bullshit Islam. It's rough on it's rough on people like Iran. Islam is rough on people like Iran. But the average person, they're not. Right. I don't think it's as much as as Kamala Harris running the campaign as what it was that Biden, the whole Biden administration thing. Again, they were deep state too. I'm not the only one being harassed. Right. Right. Well, it doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat harassment. People don't want it. If you're in the office, you're supposed to stop it. Right. That's weird. I did something about Iowa earlier or something. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It could be just sensationalism, right? Or it could be real, right? That was part of what was that was part of what they were able to do is bring back some of the rural areas. You got to be careful about that. Right. And they being whoever, probably both parties. Right. Well, the Walmarts were closing. Just nothing would work. It just was nothing. You had to drive like forever to get to a store. No medical treatment. Right. Yeah, they all do it. We'll see where it goes. I mean, that's all we got to do, Right. The bill, see where, what happens when it moves. Right. Well, theoretically, if I didn't get any cuts to my Social Security because I'm not 65 yet, right? So, but basically, if the rest of the what's being alleged as far as what would happen for lower income people happens, then it doesn't matter because it'll cut my taxes anyway, right? Because my adjusted gross income is pretty low. But I still end up paying some taxes. Right. It's okay. I mean, it is what it is, but I work enough to have made 3 times as much, at least 3 times as much as I make. Right. Well, deep state stopped me from working. That's the bottom line. Why'd you do it? Because you're crooks over here. Crooks, devils, and insane maniacs who belonged under the prison, to tell you the truth. 100%. Can't trust them in the prison. Got to put them under the prison. Like Silverstein. Thank you, Larry. Yeah, it's a big one. I mean, I don't agree with everything they say and agree with a lot of what they say, but right. Well, you just don't want that conflict going. I mean, I know what you're trying to do, but I don't know if, the world's committed to it. That's kind of weird. I think he's hoping that Trump will get his wife out. Right. If he stays the course, ethnic communities, well, Right. Certain communities were conquered by the Italians. Certain communities were conquered by the Jews. So again, it's New York. I mean, if you want to get some good goat curry, you go to Brooklyn, and I don't know. People are weird. I was taken for the bag. I go to Golden Corral. Thanks, Nick. They're good people, man. I when I was healing in New York, I went to different. God had me go to different ethnic communities, and they just. When a guy was sitting there selling CDs, you're a nice man, right? And I went and I bought some goat curry back when I wasn't a vegetarian yet, right? A guy, one of the page, and we were talking. He's trying to sell CDs, with this thing, and right. And I turned on some of my music, and he was laughing when I was leaving. Oh, what's going to happen? They know what's going to happen. They're going to redo the census, and then the Democrats are going to lose seats. You get even smaller.
This was the reaction of 14-year-old murderer Aiden Fucci as the judge read the autopsy report of Tristan Bailey. On Mother's Day, May 9, 2023. He was brought in for questioning. He recorded a chill.
That was horrible. Well, it's just, again, the idea is if we reset, again, I don't know what their plans are, but in the long run, if it works a certain way, we'll reset all the programs, and then it'll work. Well, we have to understand that all the money we're spending here is not, we used to send money to Central America to prop it up and make it work, try to make it work. But when they opened the floodgates, that didn't work anymore. Right. So all the work we did to try to establish quality of life in Central America and South America was almost for naught, because I'm just going up. I'm going to pay the cartel, and I'm going up there, right? So once you reset the programs, then the charity works and all of that. And then why should they have to leave their home nation and work for slave wages? And some of them become slaves, some of them become sex slaves, some of them become sex trafficked. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. There is no charity in the system as it exists. It's all racketeering and organized crime. They all live in organized crime and racketeering communities, and they do whatever the big boss says. All right. So once we reset the programs, then we'll actually have money to send overseas to make it work. Like right now, it doesn't work because they just come here. They don't really take pride in their communities. So I'm just going to the United States. It's the easiest way to do it. Well, if there's no way to do that, and they're confronted with a choice, and the United States says, okay, here, I'll help you with microloans or whatever it is, then it works. But it takes a little time. But then when it keeps going back and forth, then it doesn't work. Well, what they're doing is you're degrading the quality of life in the United States, and then not being able to work on theirs. I don't know, the Russian collusion, all that. Everybody does it. All right. I fought it, but, still. Well, both sides are corrupt. You've got to get rid of all the corruption. Oh, yeah. So here's an example. Following a mass explosion at a chemical plant in India's Telangana state that killed over 40 people, the country's Catholic bishops conference laments the exploitation of workers. So again, that's another issue that we can't help them with. Because why? Because we don't have that system in place. We're not reset. Right. So this is why we give foreign aid, so we can help people not come here and have a quality of life there. Right. It's the easiest way to do it, actually. Well, it's a combination. Right. Deterrence works, but if the draw becomes higher than the deterrence, then it's still kind of there. They said when see, here's another thing. When Elon Musk started that, it was a different world. Right? Life was better. No doubt. So people don't have time for that now, Elon. They want to hear it. Bullshit. That's really it. Well, if you go too far in diminishing the life of the people who don't have money, then they just don't want to hear it. Yeah. It's high dollar. It's a high dollar structure. You just have to refine it. Now, you'll go. We had the same problems at Fort Dix when we opened it up. We had, you have pipes bursting, you have all sorts of stuff happening. And again, that was older barracks. But even in new construction, when the inmates move in, you find security lapses. You find utilities that aren't working right. You have roof leaks. So again, in this particular case, again, every place has that, but it doesn't have the governor going there every day while it's opening. So you can televise it all. Right. If a new prison that you spend 10 times as much on, if that has something like that, you don't see it. Because they're not going to televise. They'll just fix it. So again, it's the idea is just fix it. I don't know who told you Category 2, but I don't see it. Now, I do also see that some things need to be tightened up on that. I don't know if the construction was done. So you have to go and inspect all your fasteners and some of those wires. The outside's, I think, in addition to it, so it's not like the inside part, but that's important to keep the rainwater out, so you have to seal that entrance thing. Right. I think the biggest problem was that there was runoff. That's what I think it was. But still, I'd take care of the whole thing. What was that? What did these do? I won't get that close to people. Yeah, you ever notice that, how close some of these people get to people? Once in Santa Fe, a cop got close, but we're trying to back this guy down, and I helped him. But I knew him. I don't remember who it was. Was it James? I can't remember who it was. I'm like, get moving. No, it's not worth it. Right. The cop was like right in his face. No, I don't want your gun, Marge. Want mine? We can we can trade guns. Yeah, see, maintain your telephone poles here in Overland Park and Olathe, like I've been telling you. They're leaning over, make sure they're not leaning too far, and they're in good. We don't want that. I don't know what that is. I don't even want to know. I mean, I read it, but who knows what it is? They just tell you what it is. Right. No, I agree Islam has a purpose, but I don't believe that the majority of nations are fulfilling that purpose or have a clue what that purpose is. Right. Well, you know, I don't know if that really happened, but yellow is a color of something else also. Shoot, that's not good. So there's going to be, it has to be a contraction. It doesn't make sense that there's no contraction. Right. Well, the government workers aren't really unemployed till September, I think. The ones that did that one thing where they still get paid and don't have to go to work for 6 months or something. Right. So September is when we're going to see. Well, the big bill is what? Is just it funds the end of the year. What is it? I don't. You're always passing some bill, right? Well, if the drawdown is in September, if in October, if the new fiscal year, if you get everything in on time, then you can actually increase. You can increase employment. Right. Again, you're going to do that now because you're constructing. You're constructing some detention centers. You're hiring agents and officers. Well, the whole answer to that whole thing is whatever's happening there is happening. I don't know if it's what they're representing or what happened, but what I'm there should be an investigation and I'll look at it, I'm sure. But the answer is to get enough food. I know what the other side is. If they get enough food in there where they're not like that, then they'll give it to Hamas, and they don't want them. They want Hamas. They don't want Hamas to, like, if you put an overage of food in Gaza, a large portion of it will go to the to the terrorists. Right. So but the only way to stop all that hysteria over the food is to flood the place with food. All right. Correct. So that they know that they don't have to fight for the food because it'll just keep coming. Right. So it's kind of a catch-22 thing. Well, they're keeping food down low so they don't just give it to Hamas. Right. What is that? Well, actually, if they had the right number of work visas, all of those agricultural workers wouldn't have been here that way. They'd have been here based upon legitimate visa. All right. Well, I think Palestinians deserve something. Right. Well, they did the wrong. What happened is when they created the state of Israel, they didn't consider the Arabs. Right. And I think that needed to happen. Another multimillionaire. See? Right. Mike Pence wasn't part of anything. Mike Pence is just trying to do his job and survive. But yeah, Mr. Flynn is another multimillionaire. Yeah, that's everywhere. Well, to tell you the truth, again, I'll say it again. If you didn't want October 7th, you should have started something 15 years ago. And it didn't have to be the overwhelming peace plan where there's two states, but you had to do something. But you did the reverse. Right. Well, you triggered them. You stop triggering people. And I think you're learning that slowly but surely. What? Why do I get these kind of things? Yeah. Yeah. Got some flag there.
Holy shit, this is crazy.
But I'll tell you, yeah, that's kind of like a weird thing. Like a lot of people that are pro Trump will put this, up and stuff. But I think I got the date right on that. Yeah. But the reason it doesn't happen now is because it happened. It'll never happen again. Right. Because now they know how to make sure it doesn't happen. Right. Now you're supposed to schedule. Even though I don't think they're allowed to announce this. I mean, it may be in the Florida legislation, but I don't think they are. Because you have to get clearance to get in, like everyone else. Correct. See there. Right. Same thing I say. Right. They kept you out of the other day, Larry, because they knew you'd do famously well there. Thank you, Larry. Now it's really weird because I'm like, what's my father doing here? And I didn't even think about it because I'm going to the temple, and all I know is I'm going to the temple, and we're going to baptize to death. But the last thing I heard is we wouldn't do my father because he was too young. Because the Jew, they have special rules for baptizing Jews because they got sued and they don't want to be sued. So 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 it wasn't like my mom was going, I'm going to baptize my, right. So it just shows you, yeah. But, Judge Kaufman was there too. I don't know what maybe Judge Kaufman wants me to baptize him. Apparently, I think that Judge Kaufman and my dad are hanging out in the afterlife or something. Kaufman was a city guy, right? Dad was a city guy. Right. I think they're both military, too. Oh, wait, they both fought in World War II, I think. Right. My father was in Korea, but he couldn't find any record from World War II, but he fought in World War II at age 15. He went in and told me he was 18, I guess, or whatever it was. He went off to war. And then he came back. He went to Temple University, if I'm not mistaken. Or he may have done it after Korea. I can't remember when he went to Temple. See, you know why these people have good lives? Because they're useful. Useful for the spycraft scam. It's not pure theater. It'll actually work, I think. That's why he calls it pure theater. Now look at that. It's a waste of time. Missionary. Just depends if it gets to the level of destruction. Right. The reality is when I don't know if it was just filming or whatever, but when you get to impeding, when you get to assaulting a federal officer, it doesn't take much. It's not exactly what the public would think it is, the way the laws were drafted. Right. You can assault an officer just by standing in front of the officer and not letting the officer, actually impeding. It's funny because they call it impeding because it makes more sense. And it's hard to prosecute assaulting a federal officer when all you did was stand in front of the officer and block his way or something like that. But that's actually assaulting a federal officer. So the laws are written a certain way that most people don't know. Paxton's been quiet. I wonder what's going on there. He's working, it says. Or he said, I guess. Thanks, Larry. Yeah, I don't think, I think immigrants should be included in the census, but I don't think it should go to deciding how many congressmen or senators we have. Right. Well, then they'll start working for the American public, won't they? Not to say the Republicans are there. We'll see where this all goes. Marley knows me somehow. Well, look, people that are just have normal lives that have YouTube accounts talk about my angel name, so it could be in an angel name, could be in anything. Right. That's weird, so weird, because I'm like, oh my God, that's me. Talking about me. Even if it wasn't an angel, they go, I'm talking to a spirit, and go, wait a minute, that's me. And God's like, well, I have to tell you something. I used your personality. That's really is. I don't have the power to be I have the credit. God says I have the credit to be 50,000 spirits, what people speak to. But I don't. I can't do it. It's God, right? You can't do that yourself. God said you could if the planet was honest. He's speaking about the credit system that's here. Well, see, that's how Elon got there. The system actually paid him for some. I mean, maybe some of it's just BS. I don't know. Right. Well, because you can actually have a great life. We're just stunted because we're cursed off. See, he came in from another country. You see how that worked? So our system didn't have him cursed off. So that's how this is happening. You're cursing off Americans from childbirth, whoever the devils are here. And again, the ones that are coming after me are devils. So they're responsible for that. But yet they make them along and say, oh, no immigrants. That's not going to go anywhere. Right. No, Robert Kennedy Jr., he killed something like that. They won't let me go back up there. Locked up my screen, somebody here. They locked up my screen. It's Elon. Elon's doing it. The evil Elon. Say it, Elon. Say it. Please. That's what they do. Why people go against Elon. Yeah, that's kind of weird. Happens, but it's called collateral damage. Right. Yeah. It's horrible. Thank you, Larry. Well, I don't think they said, well, we'll shoot one at the building and we'll shoot the other one at the intersection, killing innocent people. Hee! I don't think they did that. They meant to hit the building. Correct. Thank you. Kind of racist, I think. Not her, but what they're saying at the time. No, the Republicans that voted for that bill voted for what they wanted, or he's telling the people. They want to improve their life. and they'll improve their life with the bill, and also for voting for it, somebody will give them something. Right. See, that could sexualize a person, possibly. They know what they're doing. All right. Yeah, you can't, because people aren't stupid. I mean, I'm not telling you tortured them or not, but you're not showing 24/7 video. 5 minutes after that, you could have woke him up in his sleep and said, "Hey, get to the cell where we beat you." Right there. So again, it's kind of weird. Thank you, Larry. So in certain circles, you're ruining the right, because it's just kind of like people go because it's in their face and it doesn't really mean anything, right? No, the mistake was made when Israel was created. They probably should have created 2 states. And back then it would have been easier. And some say they did, but they didn't. Right. Well, it should have been a more organized effort. And then, you give them a homeland. Anybody that's in Palestine that was Arab gets something. Again, it had been easier to do it back then. Right. Agreed. Yeah, but see, is this like talking about today or yesterday or that's an old. Yeah. No, I was saying, but today, a lot of people think that all the technology, but you got to think about the number of people kids that die of fentanyl and all that. I mean, they don't even make it out of grade school. Some of them, and others don't make it out of junior high or high school, right? Well, they're probably not immigrants or legal immigrants. So the idea is nobody's, some people are racist, and that's what the holdup is, right? There needs to be, at a certain point you have to kickstart illegal immigration, or it's going to make a mess. But then again, I don't know if there's so again, it's too early to tell anything actually, because there's so many things. If there's a contraction, then we don't need all those extra employees. But it's going to affect something. But it should cause inflation to drop also. Thank you, Larry. You invest, yeah, but see, it's again supply and demand. If the demand increases, if you made okay, so I see what you're saying. So come here. Well, again, it's too early to tell. So the idea is, if everything that is left, if a larger portion is being made in the United States, then theoretically we will we'll have it'll bump up the GDP somewhere. I don't think it can increase. I think it can actually, but maybe it can stay level. I don't know. Right. I mean, it could increase, but again, at a certain point, people might think you're lying if you keep telling them good good information, and everything's contracting. Oh, well, we didn't stop out of control spending because, again, spending is relative to what, again, you did, obviously, what's it, USAID was moving some weird stuff. I don't know how much of that payment was intelligence-based payment, but again, the topic of their payments should not have existed to begin with, and then we got to make sure, there's a required accountability that I believe wasn't there. Right. We got to get honest, lawful return for what we're paying, not some deep state payment. Right. No, you got in the middle of some of the intelligence payments, and that's where, what's his name, Rubio came in, right? Because he had to fix what was not working. Correct. Everybody knows it's how it works. Like, you want me to believe that somebody became an oligarch without being part of the government of Russia, Right. See, in the afterlife, you see stuff like that. But I mean, you're like, you can be right there and things can around you. This is like a dumbed down existence. Well, I didn't expect anything out of the bill. And that's how you'd have to live, really. I don't care who puts the bill forward. I know my senator and my Congress are going to buy a bigger house. And their life's going to keep working. The rest, I don't care. I don't think anything else works. If it comes, great. But, it hasn't come in years. Right. I don't care what party they're part of. China's getting flooded. Yeah, they need the Middle East. They got to move. They're being flooded. Who wants to go to the Middle East? Be part of our expansion there. Everybody in that community. Or is it? Where's that Provo? I think Utah's expanding as far as LDS. Everybody's moving to the mothership. So they're building all these temples. Right. Trees and Charles, get out of here. Just fluff. Right. I got nothing to say. I did the flooding thing. All right, back to Alcatraz thingy. So we hope it doesn't get that bad. But what I would do, like I said, is I would build sandbags. What you could also do is, I mean, there's other things you can use, but the way you build the barrier at the doorway, if it's coming at the doorway, is you build it out and around and then downhill, and then it can't go uphill inside the. Again, sandbags aren't a perfect answer, but well, if you pour concrete or something, obviously it'd be a better option, right? If you dig it down and then pour concrete, right? So what you want to do there is you could kind of make a tail where it can't, because water won't go uphill, so it'll go around it. Right. But if you ended up with something like that, which means the water level rises completely, if you put a knee wall, what you can do is you can leave it like that, and if you think something's coming with that amount of rain, you can continue the knee wall around and close it off. Right. But you would need a ramp to go up over it per se. Right. So you could just leave that. So the question is, does that area flood completely? That's one question. Second is, these runoff things, if it's just runoff, you can just kind of route the runoff. But looking at the tent itself, I would want at least 2 sandbags inside high, all the way around on the inside, and at least 2 on the outside. Right. But then, I'd build probably more on the outside. And I think there's a pipe at the bottom on the inside of the tent. So you would put the sandbag over that pipe, and that would hold that pipe down, and it would just ensure integrity. Well, you can't. Again, there's a certain level of cuts that are going to cost us more money, right? And you can't meet. We can't meet objectives. You can't. Well, the country gets worse. Like Elon doesn't get government at all. He's not a service worker. He's not like a public servant. Right? You put him in a public servant world, but he's not a public servant. Trump can have his moments of not being that, but they right. he gets that if he goes in the wrong direction, the whole thing will crash. So, right. Well, everything you cut out of benefits is also money spent. So, if you're allowing a wealthy person, again, wealthy is relative to whatever. I'm not saying like billionaires, but if you let somebody retain money that doesn't spend money, that could help you with inflation. But what it's going to do is it's going to slow down, what's being spent monthly, which means, businesses will lose money, will close up. Now, maybe they'll be replaced with others. I don't know. So again, the model doesn't necessarily work. It's just there's like that point, where everything is level and everything works. Again, a lot of people don't look at that because they're radicalized one way or the other. But when you take people's food, a lot of times they start stealing and they end up in jail or selling drugs. Right. So they sit at home and watch television and play video games, and now they sell drugs. But that could be it too. I mean, some of those people could be selling drugs also because they have no official income. Right. So again, it's the idea of tightening up the programs instead of destroying the spirit or the intention. Well, that was wrong the way they destroyed everything, but they moved forward past it, then it's just ways to do it that way. See what it says here. I should stop walking, huh? Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, why didn't this person find peace? Somebody cursed him or her. And why? Could be somebody. It's definitely some people in the church, but it's definitely people outside the church. So again, if you're not responding appropriately to that person's life, God might take them out of the church themselves. Again, God's not going to have people in your church suffering from human harm. Do you understand the difference? Right? There could be harm to get them forward of something, and a lot of people speak about that, but it isn't always that. So if you're downing somebody and destroying their life from within the church, which I've had happen to me and physically operated, God's not going to keep that person there because you're no longer the church really at that, or at least that in that instance. That's demonic. Again, the haves don't admit some things sometimes because they have from within a system. Yeah, it was built wrong. It was built wrong. It could be done, but it was built wrong. Right. Agreed. It takes time to build something like that. Well, it's replacement. He replaced the people with foreigners, and some have money, some don't. Right? Because I'm sure he gets money from rich backers that are foreigners. We call them immigrants, Larry. Thank you, Larry. Well, spy agencies themselves will back a governor that brings their people in. As far as the replacement theory is real to a certain degree, but not, MAGA gets too far out the other way, right? Yeah, because you're having a good life, right? Great life, right? That's why you're there. It's not Allah, it's you're having a great life, and Allah happens to be there. Right. Then haves and have-nots. Right. He looks like Matt Burke, but he doesn't have a tattoo. He's probably not that skinny anymore. No, that's lawful. That's actually lawful. Okay, there's lawful profiling, right? And then there's unlawful profiling. They're lawfully generally. I mean, there might be a few people somewhere, but you're not. It's probably not. It's not systemic. Well, if you have a picture of a Latino person, or you have like 5 pictures, and you think that person over there looks like one, you're not going to go after white people, and you might get a white person here or there, and I think they have, but you're not going to go after black people generally. Although maybe dark skin could be there's some dark skin, and there are black people that are part of the deportation thing. So again, years ago, Judge Rosenberg, who was a great magistrate, he wasn't racist. And he used to let little kids crawl around his courtroom. Nobody was allowed to stop them. It's like an LDS church. So Judge Rosenberg was like, he says, I don't care if, if we're looking for somebody that's a Martian, then it's not profiling. Right. If we look for green people, then we're going to pull green people over. Right. Because it's just the way it works. It's just not randomly doing it. Somebody might be, again, quotas are a bad thing, and every law enforcement entity has a certain level of quota, a psychological quota. Again, so quotas exist psychologically, if not physically. Right? Because how many did you get? How many did I get? Right. It's just, it's just like, how many cars did you fix today as a mechanic? How many cars did they fix today? It's the same kind of concept, same psychology. We all have that kind of psychology. Right. So, but, it's not, well, if it's an American citizen, I guarantee they're looking for specifically somebody that person looks like. I don't think I've had it happen in a long time, at least that I know about. When I was young, it was actually right before that horrific incident. Now I remember how I ended up, because I was homeless and I didn't have any place to stay. Right. And that's right, because I didn't go right to that house. I stayed, I got with those people because I was thinking, why was I with those people? I needed a place to live. Now I remember. So I was staying with this one girl. I know we didn't have sex or anything. We just hung out during the day. But I got there because she was these other people's friends. So I ended up in this house, living in this big old house on a main road there. Well, I don't remember what that road was. Street road or something like that. Right. And then I couldn't stay. I can't remember what happened completely, but I couldn't stay there. But I remember I was staying at this guy's aunt's house or apartment for a little while. And and the cops came up and there's and they said, they got me on a car and they frisked me. And then I went to stand up, and the other cop, supervisor, came behind me and pushed me back down on the car and did it again. Checked something that he saw the other guy didn't check. I think it was my puffy coat pocket. He went right into the pocket. So I said, can I ask what I'm being held for here? And they said, well, I think it was armed robbery. And then about 30 seconds to a minute later, oh, they got him. And then woo! And they all took off. Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Larry. Thank you, sir. So I've had it happen to me. I understood it. Right. What road was that on? Was that? I think it was called the Village Mall or something. Was that Street Road too? I can't remember. I can't remember what road that was. Maybe. No, it was, I can't remember where that is. It wasn't an indoor mall, it was the outside. There's like 2 malls they call Village Mall, I think. It's like an old-timey Village Mall, I think. Something like that. Probably not even around anymore. I don't know. Maybe redone. Thanks, Larry. No, you're not doing this because of anything related to that. Right. Got to try to form a bullshit nexus in everything they do. Right. Noah owes me. He owes me a lot. She said she'll pay me in the afterlife. Oh, great. Thank you. I think God's got that covered. Well, if you can get control of it, and you get control of the mind of all the agents and officers and everybody else, you'll be able to shift their psychology because you'll provide. Right. The whole idea of waterfront property, I don't know how the world's going to ever back that, but planet's like totally whack if you really understand what you're looking at. Now, I think they should have a right to inspect that place. I mean, you maybe should have arranged a tour. Right. You should have scheduled a little better. And, well, who knows? They could have been flooded the day of the tour. But again, there are brand new prisons that flood all the time. So again, the difference is, again, you all are very public awareness and public announcement focused. So what happens is you end up, that moment when it's flooding, you have cameras there. We had all sorts of stuff happen. Boy, I discovered a lot of it. I was becoming a legend, and that's why they attacked me in the VOP. All right. There were 2 sides to the prison. One side was supposed to be shut, I think. Or did they let them walk around that side? I can't remember how it was working. But they would put me on the compound because obviously, you see I'm walking now, an hour and a half or something. 2 hours. So I would walk around the compound, I wasn't lazy. So I went into some of the buildings searching for drugs, alcohol, whatever. But I went to the mess facility that hadn't opened yet. Only half of the prison was open, but I think they let them walk, which I don't understand that now. I would have, said no, because I think this is what happened. They let them walk the other half of the compound, right? Which they probably shouldn't have done. So I go in there and I noticed that they were pilfering. They had already, or they were storing in the other mess facility. They were storing supplies, but they had been, broken into and pilfering and all that kind of stuff. Right. Because they were going to open it up eventually. So again, the way they did it is what I was trying to say is I got there and I think half of the one side was opened, maybe even a little less. Right. So they opened it building by building. I don't know, maybe 300 per building or something. So they opened it building by building. And so, you're testing your security as you go along. Right. You're testing your support facilities, your mess facilities. Do we have enough? Are we doing it right? It's better to do it when you have, 300, 600, 900. Actually, it was probably like, 100. First, they started with campers. And then they brought in the low security people. And again, the way the BOP is built, if you're in a low facility, you have medium there. Your job as a correctional officer is to figure out who the medium is and then have them sent to the medium place. And also the counselor. So that's the one battle there. Because if you're a counselor and a medium, or even a high, sometimes they do it, more so at the mediums, and somebody's aggravating you, it's easier to send them down a level than it is to send them up a level. All right. So they'll sometimes downgrade them just to get them off get this guy out of here. I don't hear from him anymore. And then they get to the low and they're really a medium. And what happens is eventually they either wake up and say thank you, or the security at the low, the security at the low isn't high enough, and you get caught doing something, or they get in a fight with a correctional officer, and right, because they feel empowered when they go down to a low. If they've been in a medium, it's tighter, right. Well, it's just like a cost-cutting measure. Again, the same thing. They turned Fort Dix Barracks into a prison. So we had a fence around it, and then a fence that split it in half. Right, and then there was a center section, which was where all the admin buildings were, and all that, and the exit and the entrance. Right. So we had two compounds, east and west. So I was looking at the west to see if they were stashing stuff over there, and I know I found I may have found booze over there too. I can't remember, but I know I found something was going on in the mess facility. Right, they had broken in and were stealing stuff. So you constantly upgrade your security as you need. Again, you have to reassess all these type of things. Right. I think it may have closed off the other side after that. I can't remember. Right. Until we started housing on that side. But we had stuff like where so it's just this stuff kind of happens. Again, I've explained it before. We see it up. They transferred a guy that was an informant, a Chinese informant from a Chinese gangs, to our facility that had Chinese gangs there. So as soon as he hit the compound, they started beating him up. Which is really weird, because then they all get sent to the medium level prison. Right. Of course, they're not the brightest bulbs in the bunch. So again, I don't think you have as much freedom of movement. So again, if you're using that as a kind of a transfer facility, an administrative transfer facility and hearing facility, the judges will again, because what should happen is where you're going to have problem is people that stay there long term. So if you can say, hey, we move them pretty quick, it's just a real quick bim, 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 bim. We give them this, we give them that, but because whatever it is, it'll be easier for all the way around security, everything, that you get it past the judges. Because I don't know how you're running it, I have no idea, but if there is an issue, if they're in, they're seen and they're out, then the judges, again, just like Oklahoma City, there's not much going on. Oklahoma City, there's some inmates that stay there. Imagine they have camp level and maybe even some low people that stay there. Right. So, again, there are going to be quality of life questions. It just happens. I mean, you can be mad at it all you like. But the easiest way to beat those is, you can't do egregious things to them, but you can move them in and move them out. If you do that, judges will be like, well, they're just, right. It's just a kind of an administrative process there, and they're gone. So. Right. But anything long term, they expect them to have access to even a lot more than you would normally have. And they might have access to it. I don't know. Thanks, Larry. Brooke Rollins is all over the place. I feel like I know her. How do I know her? I don't even know this woman. She's not one of them scammers, puts it out there. Who you know, man? Thank you, Larry. I like that woman. She's really a good woman because she teaches people how to dance. That's a very hard thing to do. intrinsically, like your mind has to stay focused, and things will try to kill you because you're helping people that have been cursed from dancing, right? Oh my God. I just think I bookmark it. I bookmarked it, so I'll look at it later. It's interesting.
Safety concerns for those who are being held here. Many of them who have not committed any.
So I spoke to the Florida Division of Emergency Management General Counsel.
Next, ma'am.
I'm sorry, my not the General Counsel. I apologize. And as I said, I raised the concerns. Why for a second I needed to. And I said, this is what is being cited. And obviously, what is a reasonable response?
Was it unsafe when you let the President of the United States in here just hours ago?
Well, pursuant to Florida Statute 944.23 and 95.225, we don't have to arrange a drill. We actually get to pop up here.
Right now, I was told that I could give you a phone number. I could call somebody else.
And so, unfortunately, that's not the law, right?
I like to see the law just to see what it is. Right. See how it's written. But I don't think to have immediate access is weird. Spiritus Invictus. It's not good I don't see him in Marasaka. Because I haven't seen anything from Marasaka in a while. Right. Just wondering. That might be in the near future. I don't know what triggers it. We'll just heal whatever triggers it. Rafa. All right, raw alerts are great for this, so we can heal this. Kellyville, Texas. Wow, pretty nasty. There's X trying to sexualize me. Do you not order that? Well, it's good that they have no tax on. I mean, it's understanding exactly how that works, but there's no tax on American-built vehicles. So again, that was what I was trying to tell them to target the tax breaks. Right. Thanks, sir. Which actually helps Elon. You know that, right? As far as I know. Right. Buy a Tesla, you won't have to pay tax on it. Theoretically, that's what it said. Wow, I've been walking a long time, haven't I? This is good stuff. I want to be able to walk this long. I want to get back to it. I don't think my speed's all that fast. I'm kind of slow, but that's cool. I need to extend the time that I walk. We got the Shabbat today. So, I want to bring this up. So it's interesting. Walmart has found a niche. If you buy certain items from Amazon, you can't return them. Now, they were good, gracious. Every so often, they'll let you return and they'll give you your money back. They did it to me recently. Right. Because it's an item. What they probably do is if the item is something that is returned frequently, that they'll just go, all right, here's your money, right? So, Right? And not too expensive. But what Walmart, you can always return everything. Right? And now they're doing same day and next day delivery. If you have, it's cheaper than Amazon Prime. Right? But again, it doesn't have as much as Amazon. So I guess I would think that their warehousing probably at this point, they increase their warehousing. So kind of compete against Amazon. And so if I buy something, if something is on Amazon that says, we have to have the Walmart Plus. And now they're offering Walmart Plus right now, I think for $50 a year, which is half price. So there is kind of a competition going there. That UK, you keep bringing up the UK. It's just a bunch of bribery. That's what that was. I told you that years ago. That didn't kill me years ago for telling you what it was. There's Judge, Grady Judd. Saw him a couple times already today. Thank you, Larry. Whew.
Patriotic. God bless America. Seriously, someone needs to take one for this. I'm getting scared. Okay, how about tomorrow? Happy 4th, little 4th of July treat. Yeah, we're gonna need to wrap this up. All right, it's getting really bad. So, what if someone did it tomorrow? What if someone did it tomorrow? Guys, what if someone did it tomorrow?
Somebody's got to do it. I swear to God. Somebody's got to do it.
I would take one for the team and I would do it. What do I have to lose?
We don't know what they're talking about, actually. All right. So again, if at a certain point you start bringing in lawful immigrant labor, that'll push the self-deport button. Right. So. Wow, it's pretty amazing. I guess it's almost 2 hours. All right. I think I've done that before. We're going to go to Stay Peaceful. Stay peaceful. Praise God and all to do. Praise God.